Yay! Here we are, Thursday afternoon. Everybody is and I am joined by Leah Heaton, performance nutritionist, and we are going to chat all things health, of course, but mainly focusing on the 6 pillars to get us back into optimum health and shape, I suppose, as well. Leah, you're very welcome. Thank you for joining me.
I really love being here with you today, and thanks so much for having us on. I've always been wanting to get on, so thanks a million.
You're very good. You're very good. The 6 pillars now, because we've so many distractions as regards other stuff that we could be doing. You work with, because you work in performance with athletes and all that. So how can we use what you do with them? What are the 6 pillars?
The 6 pillars. So before we even go into the 6 pillars, I always love having this space of suspense. We talk a lot about, our physical health and our mental health. But sometimes we look at them too isolated, and we don't look at it as the whole person and the environment that they're in, all the other factors in their lives, how their values and their beliefs get entrenched in everything that they do. So we look at people now going through COVID. There's so many terms like, the COVID stone and all this coming on. And we try and target our diet or our physical activity in isolation. And it goes well for so long, and then you see people fall off the bandwagon. So what I like to do with my clients and with my athletes and everybody who I work with is look to the bigger picture, look to the whole person and their environment, and have a big conversation around that. So their values, their beliefs, and their ideas, and who has influenced them and who has supported them in those areas. So before even starting at building a system, and I always like to relate it to a system, because when we refer to things as habits or behaviors, we almost blame ourselves when things don't go right.
Yeah, actually, the choice of words, the language we use around it is so important.
So important, and it makes it more accessible to change when we call things practices or systems, almost like we're designing our life, that we're reiterating and changing things, like somebody building something who knows that the foundations aren't steady. They just reshape the model or the architecture. I'm no builder, but when it comes to changing our nutritional habits, it's a really big part of it, is being able to adapt your model and adapt your system instead of being on a diet and off a diet. It's not as well, So what I like to do is I like to start and get them to write down all their nutritional beliefs. So over the years, what do they believe to be true to help them feel their best, look their best, and perform their best? And then to look at their garbage list. So what are those things, right? Writing down all the things that take away from your health, contribute poorly to your overall health. And compare your 2 lists, okay? When we write something down, instead of just keeping it in our mind, it's almost like forming that level of commitment with what you are doing, bringing it into that consciousness, because everything that we do is so subconscious when it comes to our practices.
And isn't that it? Because that's where our habits sit, and we wonder why. But I didn't actually really want the biscuit, but and it's an automatic, without thought, the kettle goes on and almost instinctively the press is opened at the same time and the biscuits are taken down.
Absolutely. And as soon as it's in the night, they're like, oh my God, I'm conscious of what I'm doing, but you've already done it, right? And it's that thing, it's the reaction to the situation that we're in. We bring our subconscious reaction into the consciousness when we are in these environments, the cues that trigger us to do things, just like you said with the kettle. So when we write things down on our 2 lists, our nutritional beliefs, what we believe to make us feel our best, and the garbage list that we hold as well, so the things that we know we do, but they contribute poorly to our overall health, we bring them into our conscious state of mind. And it makes us more, it opens up the door to be able to change these things because they're there in front of us and we're committing to them, okay? So we're committing to them and accepting them at their whole as their whole selves, okay? So when we write these 2 lists down, I like to ask them then, where did you get these beliefs from? Who has informed them? Who has supported them, along your years? Have you done diets in the past that have reinforced these habits over and over again? And then look into them and seeing how successful they've been for you. We might hold on to certain things and think that they're serving us, when realistically they're actually hindering us in moving forward.
So how do you break that down? As you said, because this is 6 pillars then that you work with.
Yeah.
So where do you start? What are they? And do they follow in a certain order, or does that depend on the client?
So no order. It's what's most important to the clients at that moment in their life. And taking these beliefs, we move them into the system, okay? Building our system on the triple S criterion. So that is it simple? Okay, is it easy to carry out? Has it been successful in the past for you? Because if it hasn't, maybe it's something we're willing to let go of, or even peel it back a little bit. And is it science-backed? Now, the science behind it normally fits into the area of one particular pillar, and that is our physical health. And it's always the one we start a diet on, or we start a nutritional practice on, or a fitness practice on, and that is our physical health, so our diet and our nutrition. And realistically, Barbara, when we go to change our body composition or, to lose the stone, that's only 16.6% of the overall picture of that person, the whole person. It's 1/6 of all the
Yeah,
pillars.
and yet when somebody is standing looking in the mirror, they see that as the whole 100%.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. They ignore all the other little threads in the basket that when you pull on one, it interferes with the other, It has a rolling effect. So when we go to make a change in one of these areas, we need to think about how it's impacting or affecting the other 5 pillars. What's it going to do to those other 5 pillars? Is it going to cause us emotional upset, relational? So when we going through the 6 pillars, we've got relational. So how connected we feel with the ones around us, how supported we feel by our social environment. We have existential. It's always that one that people kind of go, oh, this is real candy or Buddha. But
it's fairy bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those words though, isn't it? Because you can't quite put your finger on it.
Absolutely. It's so hard to put it into words. But the meaning behind it is so individual to everyone. I could say to you, like, what does it mean to you to have meaning and purpose in your life? What gives you that sense of being Barbara and being the whole you?
I have a list.
I think we all do. But when we talk about existential, that pillar, what does it mean to exist? And if you didn't have that, how would that take away your purpose in being you? So I know for me, a big part of my reason for existence, or right now, and it can change over the years, you can change your existential health or that pillar time and time and time again, and that's okay. It's absolutely okay. But right now, I feel a deep sense of purpose in trying to help inspire those around them to make things possible, to make things seem a little easier and a little more possible in terms of their overall health and well-being.
And that actually, you can hear that in you as you speak, because you can hear that I really, really want to be able to help who it is I'm working with.
Absolutely. It's because it's such a big part of my journey. And although we shouldn't, entrench our own values on other people, it does inform how we relate to other people. And that connects back to that pillar of relational health. So how we connect to those around us. So existential is our second pillar. Our third pillar then is mental. So our mental state of being, how alert we feel, how, on it we feel, how calm and focused and able to learn and take in new information and give out information. How we feel in that realm of our overall sense of health and well-being. So we've got relational, existential, and we have mental. Then we have physical. Like I say, it's only 16.6%, but it informs all those other pillars. So our diet, our nutrition, and our exercise. Okay. Then we have our emotional. Okay, so our emotional pillar. How we feel we're able to express our overall state of emotions. Can we talk about them? Is it okay for you to feel sad one day and feel happy the next day and be okay with feeling those emotions? We don't have to be happy all the time, It's happiness can mean so many different things. You can be happy in being sad. That sounds so deep, but it means you're in that full state of emotion. You know what I mean?
And there is that sense of sometimes it is actually just to sit and be at peace can actually be the happiest space that you can be in a day.
Absolutely.
And isn't that definitely one of the things over the past 12 months, people feel, well, to get through this, I'm going to have to try and make myself happy. And the energy that they're using in trying to force that is actually nearly burning them out.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you ever have one of those days you're like, I just want to feel what I'm feeling. I don't want to try and change it. I just want to go through it and just wade the tide, and even like that with COVID, mourning what you may have lost, but then also embracing the state of new possibilities, what you can change that into, changing that sad energy and use it in a way to inform, okay, well, now I understand what really means a lot to me. How can I use that with moving forward? So that's mental. And then we have our environment. So our environment is a big part as well of our overall picture of whole health. So how does our environment support us? Are there triggers, are there cues that either feed into our nutritional belief list or into our garbage list? And how can we change that? There's a brilliant book called Slim by Design, and it's all about how your environment informs how you're going to carry out nutritional practices and behaviors in both your corporate setting, in your home setting, in all your different settings. How you can set it up in a way to trigger cues to feed into the good practices that you're trying to carry out.
And have you found though that when, especially, a non-sports person, because they have, in a sense, like a different set of goals that they're working to, say, from me.
Yeah.
So for somebody like me, have you found, is it difficult for people to actually start changing those habits? Because as humans, we have this habit, I think there's that word, of looking at just the whole picture.
Yeah.
And how do you get them to break it down?
It's almost like, nearly when we go to try and take on a new practice or behavior, we expect it to be really difficult. We expect it to be really tough, really challenging, and really push us. It's almost like, I'm going to really smash my weekend out now. I'm going to have as much drink and food as I want, and then I'm going to start on Monday. And I'm going to be
the start on Monday.
Start on Monday.
Yeah, that phrase.
If I could change one day of the week, it would be Monday. But it's that thing that I'm not ready to psych myself up for this really tough journey ahead until Monday. We should make things, when we're trying to change things, so easy. What we have, all the capabilities to do that require the least amount of motivation to carry out.
Yes.
That, the BCOM model, you've probably heard about BJ Fogg, and it's about capability, the opportunity, and the motivation to carry out something. We should make it so foolproof. Sometimes when I'm in a consultation with a client, we'll come up with a practice to carry out over the next month, and they're like, really? Is that all? Is that all I have to do? And you're like, yeah, do you think you're going to be able to do that? And normally when you set that goal or that bar so low, they do it times 3, times 4. If I say, Barbara, okay, right, we're going to exercise 5 days this week. You won't feel like you've fully completed it until you've done those 5 days of exercise. So it's a much slower sense of reward, because each time you've exercised, that's only like 1/5 of that feeling of reward of satisfaction. Whereas if I said, look, let's just exercise 1 day a week, you'll probably do that day and then do it times 3.
But then, yes, exactly. And I see exactly where you're coming from. And that is so important, because when you said you're going to exercise every day for 5 days, my eyebrows went up and I went, really? Because that's the initial reaction, because we look at these things as this massive block.
Yeah.
And that in itself has cut us off from what it is we need to start doing. And as you say, if you said to me, okay, Barbara, just 1 day a week, whatever, you don't even have to pick your day, just do 1 day a week and let me know you've done 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes, the chances are. In fact, I know myself, I'd be going, sure, I'll stick in another one and I'll go back and impress her. But actually, it is because I would feel possibly couldn't just be one day a week.
Yeah. You'd be like, okay, that seems way too easy. So I definitely need to push myself a little bit harder to see some sort of results, because that just seems way too easy. And it's the exact same when it comes to our nutrition. It's like, I'm thinking about all those other pillars, like our relational and our, emotional state of health. And if I said to you, right, okay, Barbara, we're going to cut carbohydrates out of your diet completely, and then we're going to just have salad for lunch, and we're just going to have a fruit salad for breakfast. You might go, okay, well, I've got to cook with family dinner, and normally I'll be making a pasta dish because the kids go out to play sport in the evening time, and I know once I buy vegetables, they'll be going off every single day because not everyone in the house is going to eat them. Only I'll eat the salad every day, and I don't really like fruit salad. So you're thinking about
you actually read my mind there a bit, because I was thinking back to when the children were small. Now they're adults now, and I don't have that concern. But they are exactly the thoughts that any parent will go, now hang on a second, I'm cooking for 4 here, and a bolognese is great because I know they'll eat it. I know it'll fill them up. I know that, but I have to do something different for me.
Yeah. I've got to do something different for me, and then thinking about, okay, well then I've got to go and prep something for their lunches tomorrow. Whereas if I'd made the bolognese, maybe I could have given them some bolognese for lunch tomorrow. That would have saved me so much time, and now I've got to go and cook 5 extra meals because I've got to make them lunch, make me another salad, do all this. Whereas if I said to you, okay, let's find a happy medium here. Let's find something that you've got full capabilities to do. You have the motivation to do it. The opportunity is there. You're supported in your relational health there as well. Your relational environment, your environment in itself. You've got all the ingredients in the house to do it, and your mental state as well. It's going to give them the fuel and their physical activity. It's all those different things feed into the choice that we make. So let's find the happy medium. What's the vegetable that everybody in the house likes? We're trying to increase the amount of veggies we're eating in our diet while not drastically changing our overall diet and serving everybody's needs and wants. You might say, okay, they all like peppers, right? They love peppers and they love onions. Okay, so Barbara, let's just put a little bit of extra peppers and some extra onions into your overall spaghetti bolognese. Maybe dish yourself just 1 cupped hand of the pasta to reduce your overall carbohydrate intake. Maybe give the kids 2 and your husband 2 if they're hungry. If you're trying to improve your body composition, you might reduce yours just down to 1.
So, and it really, what that is actually looking at your meal just in a slightly different light, because you are still having the same meal as someone else, but you're just assessing it differently, really, I suppose. I don't even know if the word assessing is the right word, but I suppose understanding your food then slightly differently in that.
It's just redesigning your plate, but still having the same plate as everybody else, and to your liking, to a certain means. That will then in turn affect your overall mental state. If you've been eating poorly, not saying that bolognese is poor, but if it's
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
If your gut health is disturbed, maybe we increase your vegetables to increase the amount of gut microflora that you have, your gut microbiome, and which will affect your mental state of mind, which then affects your overall mood, your cognition, your sleep quality, your relationships. You're not as grumpy because your mental state is a little bit better and you feel a little bit better. So your relationships in your house are a little bit better, and everything starts to move together. Whereas
and it is that sense of feeling happier in yourself, knowing that these tiny, and that is like something like that on your plate, just readjusting, right? Maybe have 1 cup of pasta instead of 1.5. I mean, those little things that build up, and all of a sudden you feel, yay, I did it.
Yeah.
The mood lifts and the spirit kind of changes and you start feeling more positive. And as you say, and that's looking at the plate, and you haven't even, okay, so you said maybe 1 morning a week exercise, maybe cut down your bit of pasta. But even those 2 things, how the 2 of those, as you said earlier on, pull in the threads of all the other pieces within the family, within your environment and all that. Now, when I spoke to you previously, before we came on, you had worked with somebody who did, I don't know, 400,000 steps or something like that. I don't know what his challenge was, but it was massive. How do you then work with someone who says, okay, you know, I want to climb Carrauntoohil and I've never done anything like this before. How do you approach then that extreme? Because that's completely different, or is it?
Yeah. Well, again, it's breaking it down. You know, what are you capable of? What are your opportunities and what are your motivations to do this? And he'll kill me if I don't give you the right figure. So it was 1 million steps in the month of March.
Sorry, my apologies. I just knew it was huge. 1 million steps. Because I remember, because I broke it down. This was a few weeks ago when we were chatting. And what was that? Something like 30,000 steps a day or something like that. And I was going, how?
And this is it, right? So Barry, he's just, when he puts his mind to something, he just does it. And I remember he came to me and he had told me that he was really disappointed about the marathon last year, that it was cancelled. And I said, okay, well, let's work together to find something that brings you that sense of existential health, that meaning, that purpose, that sense of achievement. And Barry came, he had a good think, and he came and he said, look, he didn't even say, I'm thinking about it. He said, I'm going to do 1 million steps in the month of March.
Yeah, in a month. That's what it was. Because I was going, and here I go, 30 days has September, going through trying to, how many days has March got to?
And Barry works as well, he works full time. And I was going, this is it, Barry. But the first thing that came into my mind was, how? Oh my God. And then I went, wait, who am I to judge? You know, who am I to set his limits, set his barriers? This is his choice, his decision. And if he makes 100,000 steps, 10,000 steps, 1,000 steps, or 1 million steps, it's an achievement. He tried.
Yes.
So I said, we sat down. He said, look, broke it down, 33,000 steps a day, 9 miles a day. I'm going to do loops in front of one of the local country houses, a gorgeous route, really scenic. And I'm going to do that every single day for the month of March, no matter what the weather was. And you know, March weather is like...
Yeah, and I saw the pictures online, and that's why I said, oh my goodness, this is fascinating. And because really, and as I say, you work with athletes and that, so you really have to understand and be able to understand, which is obviously your gift, where the person, your client, is coming from, and whether that's from sports and, you know, as I say, elite sports even. And I was looking at your website here as well, because you go through all the different things that you would cover in the consultation too. And it's one set of things, just say for someone like me, and then it's completely different than when you're working with somebody on the next level. How do you balance that out yourself? I mean, do you go home and tuck into a bag of crisps? I have to ask.
Well, it's you know what, Barbara, we're all human. We are just all human. And like I said, you know, I drink alcohol, I eat junk food, you know, I have my days, we all have our days. I'll do my emotional eating. It's absolutely okay to do emotional eating. It's fine. There's so many values entrenched in food, and associative values. I associate apple crumble with my granny. So I'll have...
Oh, yeah.
I know, it's a real Irish thing, I think. But I have that. But I know that's okay. And it's that level of acceptance of it's okay to enjoy this and to have it and to realize that I'm enjoying it for what it is, but that it's not becoming my regular. It's not, because then you don't enjoy it the same. You know yourself, if you got a takeaway every single day, it's no longer a takeaway, it's just your dinner. And when it comes to athletes, sorry, just going back to the question that we have this term, athletes, and really it's so, you know, it's so narrow, because they're human too. They have all those 6 pillars as well. And it's sometimes as we're going through their schedule or their meal plans or their nutrition, we realize that maybe they're suffering in a different area. So it could be their relational health. They may have started a new relationship, and that's interfering with their recovery, or their, you know, their ability to sleep, and their sleep quality is impacting on their training, and then the training is impacting on their performance in their competition.
And that's actually what I was wondering, because when, so that, did you say Barry was his name when he came to you then? So he had this, I'm going to do hit that goal. So he had like his pillar that he was focusing on for that was probably slightly different than for somebody else that might come.
Yeah.
You know, it's a different focus. So in a sense, I might land with you and say, well, actually, my pillar is this bit in the middle that's actually after forming because menopause and middle age and all that kind of stuff. But so in a sense, that's my pillar that in a way that I want to work on.
Yeah.
So is it, you know, I find this whole thing fascinating.
It really is. And you know what? It's something I'm constantly learning about every single day. Like, for example, my dad was like, that's it. I'm losing the weight. I'm just doing it. I bought a treadmill and I put it, and he said, if that treadmill comes into the house, you're going. And I bought the treadmill and he was like, I know he's going to start running. If I get this treadmill, he'll start running. So anyway, I said, look, you know, like it's out there. Do you want to have a go on it? Like, and he was like, sure, nah. And then he did, right, when I wasn't watching. He went out.
Oh yeah, no, couldn't do it in front of his daughter. No.
No.
Daddies do these things on their own.
Never. And then it was like every day he'd do a little more. So he started with like 10 minutes running. Then he started with like, you know, started to move up to like 20 minutes running, and he would leave his water bottle in the kitchen. So he'd have to walk down out of the, like, you know, the gym outside, walk down into the kitchen in his shorts and his t-shirt, drink his water so that he'd tell us that he had ran, or we would know without him, right?
The dad, look.
I was like constantly enforcing. So he was like, do you know what? I'm after running a 5K marathon. And I was like, Dad, there's a big difference between 5K and a marathon, but that's amazing. I'm thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled. And he started to lose the weight, right? But it got to a point where it stopped, you know.
Yeah, that was it.
As he changed his physical activity, he started to be like, right, I'll change my diet a little bit alongside it as well. I'll still keep the alcohol in, you know, but I might just, you know, add a bit more veggies into my lunch. He'd watch maybe what I was doing, and he'd start to maybe replicate it a little bit. And he started to improve his diet, and he started to notice all these other things changing, like feeling more energetic, maybe getting up a little bit earlier, maybe running a little bit better, feeling a little bit better on the treadmill. And all these things started to change, but it stopped. At one point, it just stopped. He hit that wall. We all hit the wall.
Yeah.
And it's like, what next? Like, I feel like I'm giving it everything. I feel like I've improved the diet. I feel like I've improved my physical activity. But what next? And I said, like, take your mind off it for a while. Maybe just press pause for a while. Find something else. And he took some time. He kept going at it. Kept doing his running and stuff. Wasn't seeing the results, but because it had become his practice, his system, it wasn't him if he didn't do it. So he kept doing it without anybody asking him if he did it or whether, you know, pushing him to do it. It was his choice, and it became his routine. And then he was like, I came home one day and he was after buying a Vespa. Do you know those little mopedy Vespa things?
Oh, lovely.
Oh, I was like, it's amazing. But Barbara, I think it's like midlife crisis. Times 3.
I was just going to say, I'm funny, I was going to say, please don't use that term. But what's great about this age is being able to do things like that. And then your kids look at you and they go, like, really?
Yeah,
Mom?
it's bad. You know? Because we're quite similar, I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, I love things like that. But then I was like, oh no, I'm reinforcing it. I need to stop. But he bought this Vespa off his own accord because he was like, why not? Like, why not? And, you know, like, COVID is so boring. Everything's closed. You know, the days are getting brighter. And sure, May as well. So he got the Vespa. Now, bearing in mind, we've gone through all of this 10 years ago, you know, maybe 12 years ago. So it's happening all again. And he got the Vespa and he started to, like, fiddle with it. He started to do it up and, like, paint it, get new panels on it, put new lights on it, change the engine. Started to do all these little things. And his weight started to fall again, right? And just from purely
shifted, because when you shift your focus,
yes, his sense of meaning and purpose in his days. I know that seems so minor, but nothing is minor in the grand scheme of things when that's my enjoyment, what I feel engulfed in, and in that state of flow on a day-to-day basis. And I look forward to getting up every day to, you know, to do those things.
Yes.
So that was his new sense of this is me. So he, again, his nutrition, stayed pretty much the same. His exercise stayed pretty much the same, but his engagement in something else had changed. And that actually impacted on his overall health. He's lost 2 stone in the last 6 months, which
Wow.
he didn't begin with. But he didn't change very much. I know it sounds like a lot, but he didn't change very much overall. His nutrition changed slightly, his exercise changed slightly, and he engaged in something he felt involved in, but he's lost 2 stone. Which is
and that's the thing. It's those little things along the way. I'm seriously impressed with him though, leaving the water bottle in the kitchen so that he'd have to come in, because that is definitely something I know would happen in our house too. If Daddy has achieved, I say Daddy like my husband, if he's achieved something or whatever, you come and you go, like everybody loves. But look at Leah, I know this conversation could go on for ages. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, and you do work online, which is the great thing now, because you can take clients online, and your website is up there, heylunutrition.com. And it has been an absolute joy and a pleasure to chat with you. And you just radiate what you do, which, you can see it in you that you're passionate about it and everything like that. So people do follow Leah on her socials, because I know she's on Instagram and she has her Facebook and all of that. There's lots of hints and tips and whatever. And Leah, thank you so much for coming on today. And to everybody out there, thank you for joining us. And we shall see you all soon, please God. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.